everybody, Super fan here for another weekly update. So this is going to be the last repair update with the Mustang and how its repairs are going, because thankfully I will be picking it up Friday morning. It's going to be completely finished, all done, and I can't wait. So as you know, I filmed these on Thursday, which is why you're watching it on Friday, and I'm not in the Mustang yet. I am in a Camaro V6 convertible 2015, and yeah, so it's a lot better than the Hyundai Sonata they gave me before, but obviously I had to turn that in whenever I went on vacation to LA last week, which was a lot of fun, by the way, and a really great time, as many of you saw on social media and whatnot. And so whenever I came back, I had to get a new rental car, and it was either this or an SUV, and the lady was nice enough at Enterprise. She's like, yeah, we'll just put you in this. So nice little upgrade here. And it was actually nice and sunny the first few days this week, so I was able to drive around with the top down. It's a fun car. It's still, you know, I prefer the Mustang. I know a lot of Camaro fans are going to be excited about me driving a Camaro here, but I still definitely prefer the Mustang for sure. And but this is nice though. It's not bad, you know, definitely more power than the Sonata. And you know, some people have asked for like a little review of this. I already reviewed a V6 Camaro back, I think it was a 2011 model, and this was probably almost 3 years ago that I reviewed one. So, you know, but I mean, otherwise, this is very similar to the other Gen 5 Camaro that I reviewed, the Tom Henry Racing 45th anniversary one that I did last year. But, you know, it's nice to have this better steering wheel that's a lot more comfortable to use than the retro one and the other V6 that I reviewed many years ago. And, but yeah, it's a nice car otherwise. I'm still not a big fan of the visibility in these, and seating position, I can't get quite right either. You know, it's not quite as comfortable as the Mustang to me. Just, you know, a few little observations here, but not a bad car overall, and certainly worse things to drive around in for a week. So yeah, pretty happy with that. But as far as the Mustang goes, now the repairs, there was a supplemental in addition, you know, because they said here's a one crazy thing. I went to go check out the car yesterday, and I was talking with you know, the guy that owns the body shop and has been working on the car, along with, you know, a few other people who have been working on it. And he said that whenever they got it and started peeling panels away, they found parts of this guy's motorcycle wedged within my fender and door. That's how hard he hit me, that he literally impacted part of his bike into the side of the car and shoved it there in between the door or whatever, and in the fender there where you could see it was rolled up and stuff. So pretty crazy. And so yeah, they said they just were peeling stuff away, and they're like, oh hey, here's some black plastic. They knew the motorcycle was black before I even told them, just by seeing that. And so pretty crazy. They were just amazed at just how hard he hit it, and shows just how fast he was going. But as they continued to peel things away and discover things, the repair estimate went from being $14,000 to $16,000. Before everyone gets worked up, that's still not nearly enough to total it. I'm sorry, I do not own my own insurance company. I can't make them do anything that they won't do, and there's been so many people that have been so negative about how the car is never going to be right, and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm just getting rid of all that. The people working on this car are fantastic, and I'm not just saying that. Like, this guy he's the spokesperson for PPG at SEMA and stuff like that, for PPG paints. He is one of the best painters out there, and everything is going to be fantastic as far as paint matching. They've been blending everything very, very well. They took off the hood, the trunk, the rear bumper to blend all those and repaint, you know, all those, and really go over, you know, above and beyond to make this really right. The guy does a lot of custom work as well, and things like that, in addition to collision repair, so he's got a really good eye for detail and knows, you know, what nice paint is supposed to look like. And so I have total confidence. I have friends that are way more picky about their paint that have been happy with the job that he has done, and I'm not a perfectionist with detailing and all that kind of stuff by any means, so I'm sure it'll be far above and beyond what I even expect or would want from a fix anyway. So totally happy with that, but yeah, not nearly enough to total it. Generally, my company told me 70% is like the guide they go by, and the value of the car was, you know, $35,000 or so probably before it was wrecked. And so, you know, even at $16,000, not even at, you know, half of the value of the car. So well below that 70% threshold. Now, if the accident had happened in the EcoBoost, that was only worth like 19 grand. It would have certainly been totaled if it was the EcoBoost, I think. But because it's the nicer GT, see that I, upgraded to 1 week before it didn't get totaled. So just kind of crazy how, everything works out timing-wise with that. But I mean, when I went to the shop yesterday to look at everything, it all looked fantastic. It looks so good. It looks like, you couldn't even tell. Everything is so well done. And they've actually done a better job painting it than from the factory. I mean, they've blended it in so it doesn't look that much better than factory, but he's even said, normally they don't paint the inside of the door, the part that's covered by the interior panel. Usually Ford doesn't paint that kind of stuff, and they do it very quickly and haphazardly at the factory, with the robots and stuff. Whereas this, they actually went and painted the inside of the door as well, which is just, I'm never gonna see that, so it's kind of even pointless to do, but that's just how obsessive and over the top they are with really making sure that the car is going to be better than it was from the factory. And that's you can't expect or ask for anything better than that. So I am already really excited, and it was nearly finished. They just had to put some trim on, put the rear bumper and taillights and hood back on after they were done blending everything, and just do a final detail and alignment, and that's it. It was all cosmetic, again, no mechanical damage or anything like that. And so I'm really optimistic about this. And there's been actually a couple people that commented, and to best describe how I feel about the car now after this has happened, the car protected me, and that creates a really special bond with me, because I always knew the Mustang was a very safe car, but other cars with thinner, weaker doors, or that didn't have the weight of the Mustang, or just weren't designed as safely as the Mustang was, I might have been a lot more seriously injured, than just a little smack in the face from the side mirror. And that door didn't cave in at all. It protected me and held up even whenever a motorcycle slammed into it at well over 50 miles per hour. And so that actually really resonates strongly with me with this car, and I have a really strong bond with it already. I haven't even started driving it again yet, but that's just, it's a crazy thing that you can't really even have with a new car, honestly. And I'm more excited to pick it up tomorrow than I was to pick it up brand new. I'm like so giddy about it now, and I was excited whenever I first got it, but like I said, this is like unmatched now. I have this bond with it, and it also has made it so that I don't have to be paranoid about it. I don't have to be OCD about it. I don't have to worry like, oh crap, if someone hits me, I'm gonna have a bad Carfax. Too bad, I already have a bad Carfax. It's still a clear title, but I already have a bad Carfax, so I can't really go any downhill from there. So as far as, obsessing about it, or, being paranoid about it, as far as any of that kind of stuff goes, you kind of have a freedom. I don't have to really worry about it. I don't know. I think it's gonna actually make for a really good place to be at here with the car, and I'm really excited about it. I'm gonna stay optimistic and positive. Some people might think it's foolish to think that it's I'm looking at it this way, but I'm not gonna sit here and sulk or think the absolute worst and expect the worst. I'm really optimistic, and like I said, because of the people working on the car and the way they're going about the work and the stuff that I've already seen, and so that is why I am so optimistic and really excited, and I can't wait. So I will be filming a video whenever I pick it up and doing a walk around and showing you guys. You can check it out as well. I'm sure there'll be mixed comments and people that act like they're body shop experts and will pick it apart or try and find something wrong with it, but I'm confident. I'm already very happy with it just from what I've already seen, and then I'll be getting back to doing all the other videos I plan to do with the car, and maybe even a mod or two here. Like I said, I plan on keeping it mostly stock, but might do a few slight cosmetic things, and maybe a resonator delete or something like that down the road. We'll have to wait and see after the car is broken in. But yeah, so that's it. Sorry for the long-winded. It's gonna be a long weekly update because we've got a lot of news to cover as well. But just want to give you guys a full comprehensive update here. And so I'll send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, so for this week's news, lots of stuff to go over, so I'm going to try and go quickly here. The first thing, though, very exciting for a lot of you have been asking about Honda Civic SI news. Finally, this past week, it was spied running around out in the desert here, it looks like, and looks pretty cool. So, you can see just a little bit of camouflage there, a bunch of tape around the front air dam and intakes and whatnot, and looks like it's going to be pretty cool. Obviously not as extreme as the Type R, but that's very welcome here. It's restrained, but still looks like it's going to be really cool looking, especially in the back. back there, you can see that it's got a single exhaust outlet and those same great coupe taillights, and I think it's just a really cool looking little sedan. And so you're not sure about all the details just yet, but they're thinking it's going to use the new turbocharged 4-cylinder 2-liter engine with a 6-speed manual. We do see the manual here for sure, so no worries about that. It will still have probably the same great 6-speed manual as the other SIs. They're guessing 230 horsepower here for the new SI engine. We'll have to wait and see about that, but just great to see that it's finally, out there and, very near production trim. Hopefully it'll be available maybe in the fall or early next year. And some cool news here from Ford Performance this past week is they officially announced some upgrade packages for the 2015 to 2017 Mustangs, the GTs here. And so it's just their typical, Ford Racing has done this in the past with, they have the first stage is basically a drop-in filter and then a tune. And so that Power Pack 1 is what they're calling it, gives 13 extra horsepower and 16 extra pound-feet of torque, and gives a nice low-end bump-in torque of about 40 pound-feet at 1500 RPM. The second package here actually takes some parts from the Shelby GT350, and in addition to a different tune, it has the GT350's cold air intake system and 87mm throttle body. And then the Stage 3 package adds the GT350's intake manifold. So the Stage 2, it's 21 extra horsepower and 24 extra pound-feet of torque, and then the power pack for Stage 3 is 37 horsepower, and they list only a 5 pound-feet of torque gain. There must be some kind of little mix-up there. I'm not sure, because it should be more than that. But still, either way, I mean, you're getting, with the Stage 3 package, 37 extra horsepower. So in addition to the 435 that you already have, you're looking at, 472 horsepower. Pretty solid here for, the pricing on them isn't cheap. But then again, OEM quality stuff never is. And of course, now the nice thing about this package is it is 50 state carb certified legal. So those of you out in California and stuff can install this without any issue, and it does retain your warranty for the most part. As long as you have these parts installed by a certified Ford or Mountune technician at a Ford dealership or whatever, then it does retain those parts of the warranty. It doesn't void things. The rest of your warranty that isn't related to the engine is obviously still intact, but the warranty is instead replaced by a 3-year, 36,000 mile, Ford Performance warranty, which should be relatively the same as the Ford warranty, but it might be a little iffy still, but you do at least have a warranty with it, which is the biggest thing. And since it is a Ford supported thing, I assume that, the dealer would give you the benefit of the doubt if you ever did have any kind of, warranty claims, things like that. So cool to see that, because that's the biggest selling point about it, is being able to retain your warranty, being able to do a tune and things like this without, losing all that kind of stuff like you do with any of the aftermarket stuff. So really great to see that. So yeah, always good to have some choices. And a new rumor about the Supra this week. We know a new Supra is probably coming, sooner rather than later here, with the joint partnership with BMW, where they get the new Z5 Roadster and Toyota gets the new Supra. And so what we're hearing now is that the engine for this vehicle, for this new Supra, could be a turbo V6 engine. It could be one that they're actually developing for Lexus, for the Lexus brand, to kind of compete with the turbo V6 engines in stuff like the new Audi S4 and all that kind of stuff. A lot of these other companies, with BMW also going with the turbos, inline 6 engines and stuff. So all these kind of manufacturers going towards that is why Lexus is probably doing that, which is why this makes sense that this motor could end up in the Supra, which would, totally make sense. I mean, obviously the original Supra had an inline 6 turbo, but doing a V6 turbo still should sound pretty awesome, hopefully. And they're saying it can have about 400 horsepower and around 300 pound-feet of torque, maybe. And so we'll have to just wait and see if they actually do, in fact, end up coming out with this engine for this car. But hopefully we start seeing something here at some point, some kind of actual spy shots of a running, prototype or something, because right now it's still just all speculation. Speaking of some speculation, this past week there's a rumor started here that McLaren may be resurrecting the F1, and basically what it would be is they said that there's been some owners that have said they want a more luxurious McLaren because all the other stuff has the same basic switchgear. It's nice, but it's not as nice as some of the competition and the luxury stuff that those manufacturers offer. So what we're hearing here is that McLaren is considering doing an F1 resurrection, but it wouldn't be as hardcore and it wouldn't be the fastest thing. It would be slower than a P1. They would do the same engine as the P1, but without the hybrid stuff in it. It'd just be a straight normal the twin turbo V8 that the P1 has, 700 horsepower or so, but it would have the 3-seat setup again, which is what we're hearing is they're going to be using the same carbon fiber shell they have for all the other McLarens, but trying to modify it a bit in order to fit the 3 seats, and so it would be a little more of a grand tour, and it would just be a pretty cool little car. And I mean, it would probably be very, very limited again, maybe even as limited as the current or the old F1 was, with about 64 of them being built, or it could be more, it could be less, who knows. They're guessing it would be around $2 million if they did make it, and so we'll just have to wait and see if this rumor actually materializes. A couple Mercedes were spied testing this past week. The first is the new Mercedes-AMG GTC. They're calling it Roadster, the AMG GTS Roadster, and as you can see, it's got a cloth top here, and looks much like you would expect a convertible AMG GT to look. And so yeah, not much more to it than that. Same performance and whatnot. And so we're hearing this will probably be arriving by next year. So great to see that. The other Mercedes thing that was spy testing this past week was the new G-Wagon, which looks much like the old G-Wagon, except you could tell if you look at it closely that it's a little bit wider. It's actually a good bit wider, considering the old G-Wagon. The shape is based on a car that's 40 years old at this point. So widening it a little bit will give it a little more, room for the luxury stuff that people come to expect from a 100,000 plus SUV from Mercedes. And they also said it's going to go on a big weight loss, and it's going to lose about 900 pounds. And that's just mostly because they're going to get rid of some of that archaic, old-fashioned frame and chassis that the G-Wagon here is based on, and replace it with modern aluminum components and things like that. Hopefully it will still be a legit off-roader, still be a really rugged SUV, but the weight loss would certainly help, and so great to see that. And again, that's something else we could probably see next year, especially based on how far along these prototypes look. Wouldn't be much of an stretch of the imagination to see it next year. A couple other quick reports here. The first is that Lotus, there's been a report here that they're going to be making the new Elise for the 2020 model year, and that it's going to be lighter, and it's going to return to its roots and stay true to, they're not going to bloat it or anything like that. Lotus has also said that by next year they should be turning a profit, which would be really great if it was true. Hopefully it will be true, and they will be able to turn a profit, and Lotus will be able to return to being a healthy company that'll be able to offer exciting new products. And so fingers crossed for them. And one other cool thing is Lamborghini this past week, they did an interview with the CEO of Lamborghini, and they were talking with him about the V12 engine, and he was saying how the V12 is very, very important to their customers, and how the V12 is not going anywhere. It's going to stay, even with the emission standards getting stricter and stricter. He says that in time they could possibly pair it with some kind of hybridization kind of thing, but they want to keep the V12 in place, and that they don't see it being a problem. And of course, with how much people pay for Lamborghinis, even with the fines that would be the taxes and stuff that would be put on Lamborghini, for the penalties for having a V12, they would just bundle that into the price of the car, and I'm sure no one would complain who's rich enough to afford a Lamborghini. If it's an extra 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever, I think they would probably be fine with that, as long as they keep the same awesome engine, and I can't blame them for that. So very respectable of Lamborghini, honestly, to stick to their guns, stick to their roots, honestly, of V12 engine here, and do something that's kind of countercultural with everyone else downsizing and all of these hypercars having V8s and stuff like that with the hybrids. It's awesome to see Lamborghini sticking with the V12, so great to see that. Another report here that's not so great news is that Jaguar, there's a report that they're probably going to be killing off any kind of supercar or sports car plans for new models, and that they're going to focus on luxury vehicles and luxury EVs more particularly instead. So, everyone was begging and pleading for them to build the CX-75, supercar that we saw in Spectre last year. And yeah, I mean, so many people have been wanting for them to build that car, even like actual customers that are like, I will pay whatever it costs. I want one of these cars. And so Jaguar, unfortunately, they cannot build it for whatever reason. They're not going to, and they were considering doing some kind of XK successor of more of a Grand Tourer than the F-Type, and do something new like that for coupe and convertible. That is not happening anymore either, according to this report. And so they will continue on with the F-Type, though. There isn't any danger to the F-Type, thankfully. As long as they keep building the F-Type, I have no problems with Jaguar. That is glorious. But I guess what they're going to be doing instead is two different electric vehicles. The first is going to be a large luxury sedan that's going to be codenamed the X590, and so that's going to be kind of around the same size as the XJ, but they will continue to build the XJ alongside this other electric vehicle. They're going to try and compete with the Tesla Model S and stuff like that. That's kind of what they're going for here, and you can't blame them with that being all the rage these days. So that's the first thing. The other thing is going to be a slightly less expensive luxury EV crossover that was previously, I guess, a Range Rover project that now Jaguar is taking over. And according to this report, of course, all just, rumors at this point. But and that would be something that would also be coming about soon, in the future of Jaguar. And they would continue to still work on, the other sedans that they have in the lineup already and continue on with the F-Type and stuff like that. But, no supercar, no XK. Definitely a bummer, but, they have to stay alive. They have to survive and be a profitable company. And so I can't really blame them for that. Like I said, as long as the F-Type's not in danger, all is all right. And one thing, though, that is being phased out here, though, a report, this is actually confirmed. The last 9 Aston Martin DB9s have just rolled off the assembly line here. They have special little badges on the side there. And so sad to see that car come to an end. A really great car, but it's, obviously it's time now with the new DB11 that's much better in every way. It seems it's going to be a huge improvement. So, but sad to always see a car come to the end of its production line. So, next story, though, a car that is just starting its production line is Nissan has just rolled out the new single cab for the Nissan Titan here. And so they're offering it in all the usual variants like you would expect, and looks exactly like a single cab Nissan Titan. So pretty not much else to say there with that. Another truck, though, that there is a little bit more to talk about is they officially released pricing, or at least it's leaked. It's not official just yet, but the Ford F-150 Raptor, the new one for 2017 here, has just been priced according to this leaked pricing guide. So it may be off, but it's probably pretty official here. Anyway, the Super Cab is $49,522, and the Super Crew is $52,505. And so, that's obviously just the base starting price. We know it's going to have the twin-turbo 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 that does, 450 horsepower at least. And so anyway, the biggest thing, though, is there are some option packages that get pretty pricey here with the Raptor, if this order guide is to be believed. The first, the 801A package, is $3,158, but there's a luxury package called the 802A, which is going to be $9,345 supposedly. And it's going to have all your typical blind spot monitoring and, the LED kind of treatments and, heated and cooled seats, all that kind of stuff, I'm sure. And so that is going to make it pretty pricey. There's also a separate almost $2,000 technology package that you can get in addition to other, options on the side and things like that. So, you could be, if you're getting a fully loaded Raptor, you could be looking at, probably about a $65,000 truck, which still might not be that bad, honestly. Trucks are getting more and more expensive all the time, but still, nonetheless, a little bit pricey there. But, the Raptor's awesome. They sell really well. I'm sure that's not going to hurt the Raptor whatsoever. So, cool to see that. Other truck news, lots and lots of truck news this week, and that is that the new Jeep Wrangler pickup truck was spied testing, and it actually has a pretty long bed. This isn't going to just be some, cute little Wrangler with a little, hitch on the back or something. This is a full-blown truck version of the Wrangler, it seems. A pretty good-sized bed there, looks about the same size as like something in a Chevy Colorado with the, bed there on a crew cab and stuff like that. Pretty long, and so it should be a very usable truck, actually. And, this is, of course, based on the new Wrangler that they're also developing the standard version of. And so hopefully we'll be seeing those next year for the 2018 model year. And so great to see those out running around. Other truck news is that there's a report this week that BMW is closely watching the truck market because we know that Mercedes is planning to do a truck possibly called the GLT. And that, I guess depending on how well that does, and that's still, I think, a couple of years away anyway, but depending on how well that does, BMW could try and come in with a competitor, and so it just depends. But especially with gas prices being cheap the way they are, trucks are selling like hotcakes, and so it only makes sense, for these other car companies to consider it, especially at least for the American market. And so interesting to see that. Other BMW news is the new M5 was spied running around, you know, it has similar headlights to the new 7 Series, and otherwise looks very much, honestly, like the old M5. You know, very similar there with the taillights in the back. Still looks very much like any other, you know, BMW, like you would expect. All of the signature BMW details, especially the things for the M, you know, with the slightly flared fenders and you know, the quad exhaust there in the back and things like that. Looks really great, and you know, could possibly have optional all-wheel drive as well. Still have to wait to hear about all that kind of stuff, but interesting to hear that nonetheless and see those pictures. And then the last thing is apparently, you know, the Porsche 911R. I was really excited when they even announced that. You know, the idea of the GT3 engine, which is an amazing engine with a manual transmission and skinnier tires and a back to basics puristic 911, is even more hot than Porsche expected, or anyone expected, honestly, because this past week, apparently, they're just starting deliveries of these things very, very early on, but apparently one already sold for $1.3 million for a car that is retailing for around $186,000. So that is 7 times the MSRP. And I mean, a lot of people are, you know, expecting it to be a future classic, and, you know, you see some of these really rare mint, you know, vintage 911s going for way more money than that anyway, but it's still just unseen. I mean, they said this could actually be a record for a new car as far as how much it's appreciated immediately. It is mind-blowing. I mean, that is the price of the 918 Spider. People are paying that for a simple 911 with a GT3 engine, a manual transmission, and skinnier tires. They're paying Porsche 918 money for that. At least one guy, whoever it is that bought this car. I'm sure they're not all going to sell for that much money, but shows just how hot this car is. And hopefully this sends a strong signal to Porsche. This is what people want. Clearly, if they're paying that kind of money for it, this is what people want, and hopefully they're, you know, we're hearing that the new GT3 for the next generation will go back to having a manual option, and so hopefully, you know, at least that's part of it. But I would love to see some kind of, you know, 911R like this, you know, in the future as a standard model instead of some rare limited edition thing. So we'll have to wait and see. Porsche does like doing the limited editions, but really awesome to see just how well those are doing. And anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I'll send it over to me in the car. All right, so I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here, even though it's raining, like I always do. A little bit of wheel spin there. Yeah, it's a fun thing, especially in the rain here, rear-wheel drive and stuff. Pretty cool. I do like the way this V6 sounds too. Actually, with the top down, it kind of, to me, actually sounded a little bit like an F-Type or something with the way the V6 sounds. It actually is a cool car. I do like these V6 Camaros. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.